So after round 1 of the Bloodstorm Slaughterfest tournament against Ogre Khans, I now managed to be able to face off against Warriors of the Dark Gods, a Makhar army list. So this is a very different army list from a conventional Warriors of the Dark Gods list, as it's based on the auxiliary Makhar army book. They also allowed these armies in the event, and it was great to see it on table once. So the army list you see here is actually a bit different from the army that I actually managed to see on the table. So the Makhar I encountered was one on a horse instead of on the Dark Chariot, and then the Makhar chariots, they were not there, but instead there were more Makhar lancers. I don't know why this happened. I think maybe the Makhar chariots are in special and you need a lot of core in the army list, I believe. Anyway, we still had a great game, and yeah, so my army is obviously the same as in round 1. So in the video on round 1 there's a bit more discussion on the army, and yeah, I'll leave it at that. You can see some pictures of the armies now. So this is the Makhar army list, and this is another picture of my army that was actually taken at the event. And we go into the battle. So we're playing actually on the same table. I agreed with the tournament organizer that it would be possible just because of the webcam. And we agreed also to shuffle the terrain a bit every single round, because possibly it might work to my advantage. After the first round we, for some reason, actually didn't, probably just laziness, and I don't feel like I really took that much advantage out of playing on the exact same table this round. Yeah, so my opponent was again able to choose the deployment. Yes. So I forced him to deploy first. He started deploying with his Makhar cavalry on the left and the Makhar cavalry on the right. Once again, I just put my Chimera in the lake just for the same reasons, and again the Forsworn just in the middle because, well, they have to go somewhere, and well, from the middle of the field they can go anywhere they want, and I'm not counting on my opponent being able to get them off the field. And yeah, he can't really ignore the unit or get away from it. The Warrior Knights this time go to the left side of the lake, and the Barbarians are tilted a little bit more to the right. So this is a very small advantage I get from this second time of deployment, where I can accurately decide that I want the Barbarians a little bit shifted to the right. So after the deployment, my opponent still is able to get his Vanguard move, but in Bloodstorm there's no unlimited bonus you can claim from having undeployed units for your opponent. So my opponent actually could only get a +2 on this roll. For me, it's not really important who is going to start, but with your Vanguard move it is obviously very important. So he is debating whether to put the Makhar within my charge range or not. I see that the camera has a little bit of issues with focusing for some reason. Okay, there we go again. So in the end, we decided that obviously I can charge his knight unit on the left with my Forsworn, but he was just hoping for the roll on the first turn, which was a very daring thing to do. Otherwise, he could have still fled, obviously, but well, it would have taken him a long time to get back from that. So the funny thing on these Makhar units is that actually this cavalry that he fielded is not light troops. It's just it has Vanguard and it has a 16-inch move, but they can't reform or anything during the move. So I was quite amazed by that, because you have this very flexibly oriented list that is actually very cumbersome in moving. So this first round everything goes well, but you'll see later in the game that he's going to struggle a bit with this. And then yeah, there's this Karkadon herd. It looks like a very scary unit, especially as he used Dragon Ogre models for it. So there's just this gigantic unit of Dragon Ogres just across the table from me. These Karkadons, they have 2 wounds apiece with a 5+ armor save, I believe, but they still have 2 attacks at strength 5 with lethal strike, and they can actually make full supporting attacks. Then they also do impact hits, D3+2 in this situation because they have 2 full ranks, so you're looking at 9 impact hits at least and 15 at the max. That is a lot of damage, so I don't want to get charged by these guys. This is the setup I eventually come up with. So again, I make good use of the Banner of the Relentless Company on the Barbarians. I'm very happy that I brought this one. And yeah, the Chimera in this case, he already took 3 wounds in just 1 shooting phase from the Makhar bows. This is not because these guys shoot very hard, it's just because of luck. I was a bit unlucky here. Yeah, so just coming back to my situation, I decided to have my Warrior Knights standing where they are, because I'm confident that they can take the charge actually from the cavalry of my opponent. Then the Barbarians, they can comfortably take the charge of the Mammoth, and the first one can comfortably also take the charge. The only unit I didn't want to be able to charge on one of my valuable units was the Karkadon herd, and they actually make a field charge, and in this situation I can counter charge them with my Warrior Knights. So far so good to me, really. It's what I'm thinking, at least. Yeah, so the only exciting thing was the panic check for the Barbarians, because they are not fearless and they are being charged by a gigantic model. And yeah, otherwise my opponent decides to more or less stick around with this unit. So this is already where you can see that not having light troops really hurts these cavalry units. Whilst they still have I believe they have an armor save of 4+, possibly 3+, but in units of 10, I would say that they feel more like light cavalry. Well, they are medium cavalry, but medium cavalry is a very niche role has always been in this kind of game. There's armies that could field them throughout time, but none of these armies actually did it en masse. So I think it would maybe work if you're able to have them as light troops. But even then, this big unit, I don't see the advantage either. So in combat, my Barbarians, they I had a 5+ ward save on my Barbarians this time. So the Mammoth only managed to do 2 wounds. That was absurd. And then they struck back. They did 4 wounds to the Mammoth. And then for charges in my turn, they charge off the Mammoth. My Warrior Knights managed to charge into the Karkadon herd. My Forsworn managed to charge into the cavalry. So everything is locked in combat already, and in my mind, I'm in an advantageous position here. So the general of my opponent actually managed to come around my unit of Forsworn. So he's facing the Chimera in this situation. The Chimera actually rallied, so he's back for business. We go to magic doesn't really do a lot, I believe. Combat. So the Warrior Knights on the charge, they managed to kill off 2 Karkadons, 3 Karkadons, 2 Karkadons. And the Karkadons, they strike back. So they do a couple of wounds. I do lose 2 knights here, which is a bit dearly. Luckily, however, at this point, any wounds that I'm going to do with the Warrior Knights are going to diminish the return attacks on me. And even though I win the combat, I believe, I do win the combat, he sticks. Then we go to the next combat with the Forsworn. They are very confident against this cavalry block. I don't do a lot of wounds actually, and I believe my my hero does fluff a little bit, but still I managed to break the unit and can turn around. So the Chimera again flees the battle and he makes a dangerous terrain test and he dies. That was easy, apparently. And my opponent has a failed charge with his unit. His barbarian chief, he has to take a march attack, which he makes. And my objective for this game, we all had just some objective cards for the tournament. My objective for this game was to kill my opponent's general with my general in a duel. Yeah, that was very hard to accomplish, especially as my opponent's model is so much more mobile, and I have to catch him with my general, and I have to get a duel, and he has to accept. Well, he actually has to accept in this scenario. But yeah, it's extremely difficult to get this model once your opponent decides to just run away from you. So the Warrior Knights are quite comfortably grinding down the Gargadons, and yeah, magically they didn't lose any wounds this turn, but also magically the Gargadons managed to stay where they are. And then in my turn I try to block off the movement of this Barbarian Chief a little bit, but I make a bit of a mistake there. So maybe you can already spot the mistake, so let's see. And otherwise the Barbarians, they go into the rear of the Gargadon herd, and yeah, obviously this is going to spell doom for the Gargadon herd. They are going to break from combat, and I'm going to be able to pursue them. And in this way, the two remaining Warrior Knights, they will pursue far enough to end up into his horseman unit. So that's a new charge for the Warrior Knights. So that's on lances again, 5 attacks at strength 6. So that's gonna be a good charge for me, really, even though it's only 2 Warrior Knights. Here you can see my opponent's turn. He still manages to make his march check, which was very unfortunate to me, because otherwise I would have been able to charge him somewhere around there. And yeah, then we go into the combat against horseman, and yeah, I just kill only 2, I believe. My opponent manages to reform, and then we go into my turn. I decide not to charge in my barbarians because I want to use my magic to magic down my opponent's general, because I'm sort of confident that my Warrior Knights will hold out against the barbarians, and even if they lose a model, then they make up more space for the barbarians. So measuring out a bit, I actually make my unit broader. I don't know why I did that, because I should just have left them less wide, so that they could charge in next turn. Yeah, so the Warrior Knights, they the magic, I try to magic my opponent's general down. I believe yeah, I get a Hellfire through, and my opponent dispels the Breath of Corruption. The Hellfire doesn't do any damage, however, because he has a 2+ armor save, and he makes all saves. In combat he manages to kill one of my Warrior Knights, but I managed to stick. And then his Barbarian again makes a march check. And he challenges me to charge his Barbarian Chief with my Sorcerer in the next round. We go to combat again. My champion again kills off 1 or 2, one model, I believe. He has a standard, so we actually draw. These are very quick turns now, so it's my turn again. I decide not to charge his character with my mage, except just to go out of his field of vision and just try to hunt him some more, try to kill him with some magic. The barbarians are still stuck where they are, so yeah, it was definitely a big mistake to to go behind my Warrior Knight and make my unit broader. And here again I had another chance of reforming so that I could go in the next round, but I didn't do so. Maybe it was the heat of the moment. So yeah, the Warrior Knight still kills off another model, and all this time I'm just hoping to kill 2 models so that he actually has to take a break test. but I guess at the same time he just hopes to put a wound on my model. But then again, I have AP 1 with my paired weapons, which I thought would be the best, and he has 4+ armor save left, and I have 2+ armor save, but he doesn't have any AP on his unit, so yeah. We cast some more magic, but we don't manage to kill his chief, and basically this is already the end of the game. So his barbarian chief doesn't die for the rest of the game. My warrior knight just continues to smack down some barbarian horsemen, but we don't break the unit, and that's the end of the game. So all in all, I think this Makhar list, it's a hard list to play with. Like the list is, I don't know if it's a very competitive army once you get the list optimized or well, tournament worthy, really. But in this format, the Karkadon herd looks very scary, but if they don't get the charge, they are not very scary at all. Yeah, the Mammoth is just a big monster, and then yeah, you have the obligation of having a lot of core, which is going to be cavalry mostly. And yeah, I think it's a nice army to play. It's a nice thematic army, but yeah, in terms of competitiveness, it might score a little lower than the others. Anyway, off we go to round 3.